Labyrinths in fiction are used to get us to feel a specific way, and authors want us to have this experience that replicates a crucial life experience that I think we all have. So many speculative fiction writers are using labyrinths to recreate the emotional experience of this sort of life thing that happens to us. And that experience comes with a bunch of different emotions that all lead up to something else. So the emotions we'll need to look at to understand what is happening with labyrinths in different types of speculative fiction are things like mystery, wonder, fear, isolation, disorientation, just being lost, and not being able to find the meaning in the things around you. Hi, I'm Marie, and this is my channel reviewing different types of speculative fiction. So today I'm going to talk about these three books. First is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Second is This Is How You Lose a Time War. I always say the title of this book wrong for some reason, by Max Gladstone. And third is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I don't know how to say his last name. But anyway, the reason that I'm going to talk about these three is because they all involve a labyrinth, but they're three different genres. So it's interesting to see how labyrinths work out between the three of them and like what the purpose is and what it shows us about ourselves and what these authors are trying to get us to experience when we read their books. So we'll start with Piranesi. In Piranesi, there's a very clear labyrinth, which is the mansion or the castle that he's in. I'm going to try and limit the spoilers until the end when I have to talk about meaning a little bit more, and then I can't really talk about the meaning of Piranesi without giving a spoiler about the whole ending of the book. But I'll warn you ahead of time. The castle is the labyrinth in Piranesi. It is this endless palace kind of place, which I'm pretty sure is marble, if I remember correctly. And the rooms go on, and the stairwells go on and on. At the bottom, there is an ocean inside of this castle place. And at the top, there are ceilings that are cracked, and Piranesi can see the sky, but that's it. Through the windows, he can only see sky. So this castle-y palace thing is Piranesi's labyrinth. He can become lost in it. He's trying to map it out, but it's too large for him to map out the whole thing. He's alone, except for one other person sometimes, but he's mostly alone and he can't choose when to see that other person. And he just doesn't really know how he got there or know anything about this place with which he lives, which he calls the world because there's no outside of it. So we can see here how the labyrinth is used, and in Piranesi, it creates a lot of different emotions for him and for the reader. I think the biggest one is Piranesi's awe at just how amazing and interesting and beautiful the space is, which I think is supposed to relate to the awe that we're supposed to feel in the world that we live in, and the unknowable that we just have to accept as part of life, as Piranesi has to accept it as part of his life in this story. And it seems like something that he finds meaningful, even this like lack of knowledge that he has in the story. So you can see how the labyrinth is creating all these emotions in the story, these emotions of isolation and mystery and awe, and disorientation, and that kind of thing, just based on the explanation of the space itself. And on top of that, there's a puzzle. In all of these stories that I talk about today, there's going to be a puzzle involved in the labyrinth. And for Piranesi, that's that he's finding these notes and he doesn't know where they came from, and he's trying to figure that out. So this is a fantasy with this type of labyrinth in it. Next is, this is how you lose a time war. The labyrinth in this is a little bit different because it is actually the way, it's the time travel. It's the way that the two characters, Red and Blue, have to move through time. And they describe it as like moving through these like web, this web of threads that connect them or allow them to move between different timelines and times. So this is sort of an intricate web. Red and Blue, the two characters, do have a better sense of this labyrinth, a better knowledge and understanding of it than, say, Piranesi does in that book, but we don't. The reader has no idea how they're doing this, or there's really no understanding. It's basically magic for us. In Piranesi, the castle palace place is magic because it has an ocean in it. It's endless. It's not something that we could imagine being real. And in this book, the time travel is also magical in the sense that it's unknowable to the reader, even though the two characters are supposed to know it and know how to travel it. And again, these threads of this time travel is something that is endless for the characters. Time is endless, so they can always be moving through it, and it's always continuing on. And for the reader, this is very disorienting, and it creates this wonder and this awe in the same way that Piranesi does, I think, or the labyrinth in Piranesi does. Also, Red and Blue are basically alone in the story. We don't see them interacting with anybody else very much. And even if they do see people and interact with them, I mean, they see people when they go to different times, but those are people that are so separated from them because they're not time travelers. They don't know about time travel. It's such a different context that those people are in, and Red and Blue are basically faking who they are in these timelines. But then even when they're with other people who can time travel, they have this like internalization, this like secret self to them. They're not open with other people. They don't share themselves with others. So it still feels as if these two characters are very isolated, and they can only really speak to each other through these letters that they tell. And the letters are the puzzle. The puzzle a little bit for them, and really the puzzle for the reader, which you can't quite realize as much until you get to the end. And I won't spoil it, but the letters give you something by the end. So time travel, right? This is a sci-fi story that has a sci-fi kind of labyrinth. Then finally is House of Leaves, and House of Leaves is a horror story. It's a very strange story. I'll call it horror. If you know anything about it, my copy's kind of dirty. It is written, if you could see, very strangely. And yeah. And inside of this story is a bunch of stories, one of which is called the Davidson Documentary, which is about a man who moves into a house with his family. He's trying to reconnect with his wife. His last name is Navidson, and he's measuring his house, and he comes to learn that it's bigger on the inside, and it's 1/4 bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and that creates this whole sort of mystery with him where he's trying to figure this out, and then eventually the house is expanding and a hallway opens up in his house, and it's dark and it's cold and it has no windows, and it is seemingly endless. When you go into it, the shape can shift, the rooms can shift, there's endless stairways. So again, we have a labyrinth here. So this also comes with it a lot of the same experiences and emotions that I just mentioned in the other two books. There's isolation when people get stuck in the hallway by themselves. There's awe in just like, what is this hallway and what's happening with it? There's fear as well. This is horror, and it seems as though there could be something in the hallway, but we're not sure. And with all these labyrinths, there just are, the more the characters explore, it seems that they find more questions than answers for most of the story, and that happens here as well. There's also this sense of magic to it, obviously, because it's endless and shifting and doesn't make sense in physics or space. And the puzzle here is for Navidson, because he's trying to figure out what's going on and what this hallway is. So his puzzle consists of taking all these measurements, taking pieces from the hallway and getting them researched by scientists, and just exploring the hallway and trying to learn what it is and what's there. So all of these have a puzzle to them as well. Oh, and it's dark, there's no windows, and it constantly moves. So obviously the characters who are exploring this hallway are going to be disoriented and lost in different aspects of this labyrinth. Okay, so now I'm going to touch a little bit into spoilers with each of the endings of these books, just so I can talk about the meaning of them, so that I can get to that idea of what that crucial experience is that the authors are trying to have the reader get through reading. So if you don't want the spoilers, skip ahead. I'll put a time stamp. With Piranesi, what I think part of the meaning of the story is about creating a new life for yourself. So Piranesi discovers that he has been trapped there by someone else, and all of his memories are erased, and he can't be the person that he was anymore, and he can't continue to be the person that he is or has been living in this labyrinth. So he has to become somebody new from his old self, and I think that that's part of what this story is about. It's about this idea of, after trauma, dealing with that and becoming a new person that involves that and pieces together different parts of yourself. And that would be an experience that is disorienting, that we would feel lost in, that may involve awe, both in a case of horror and in a case of just seeing something exceptional, or experiencing the world as exceptional, as well as you're being this person whose perspective on life is changing. So we see that that's the kind of meaning that Piranesi is presenting for the reader. In How to Lose a Time War, these two characters are falling in love. They're finding themselves and finding each other. They're finding their passion and their meaning in life. it doesn't seem like their lives matter much or have much meaning when they're just doing their work as time travelers. It's not until they start to experience each other that they want to take risks, that they really want to live, that things seem to matter. So I think part of the meaning of this story is about building those types of relationships that make your life meaningful. And again, relationships come forging that path together, and building that comes with disorientation, a loss of self. It can be isolating when you feel like the other person doesn't understand things about you that you want them to understand. There's awe. All of those experiences that I mentioned fit the labyrinth, is part of the meaning of the two characters' story in this, and what we're supposed to understand by the end of the book. And for House of Leaves, there's a similar theme going on, just I don't know, in the Navidson documentary. As I said, Navidson and his wife, they're actually not married, but they have kids at the beginning. And they are trying to fix their relationship because he has been out making documentaries, and now he's finally, coming home and trying to stay with his family and build something there. And they're really struggling with that. And she ends up leaving because of his obsession with the hallway. And all of that is a representation of their relationship and the struggles that they're having, the way that they're feeling disoriented and lost with their relationship, and with how they're experiencing each other, and with what they want in life. But then in the end, she comes back and she finds him and she saves him, and they leave. And and then they do get married. So it's finding this meaning in the relationship and in the path that takes, and just how it feels and how it can be disorienting, and how we don't know the way. Like, we have to slowly discover it. We have to search. We have to experiment. And then we eventually can get somewhere. Oh, I also forgot to mention that this whole book itself is a labyrinth for the reader, giving the odd way that it's written, and it has puzzles within it that the reader has to solve. So not only do you get the experience of the labyrinth through the Navidson documentary story, but that's only one small part of this book. There's a bunch of other stories within stories in it, and the whole way it's written is a labyrinth that you're also experiencing as the reader at the same time. Now, these three stories aren't all the same. Their themes aren't the same. Their genres aren't the same. But the way that the labyrinth acts in each of them is very similar, and it leads to a similar experience for the reader, an emotional experience that I think the authors want you to have on purpose, because it's a representation of what's going on with these characters. So what does it all come down to then? I think it comes down to the experience of searching for meaning. All of the characters are searching for meaning, whether it's in a relationship or just in themselves, or I think actually for all of them, it's both. So they're all searching for meaning. They all don't have a path. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to find the answers. There may not even be answers, or they may have to create the answers on their own. It might not be something that they can just find. But it's a representation of that part of our life, that experience that we have in life, of feeling like we lack meaning, feeling like we don't have a path, we don't know who we are, and we're trying to get there, we're searching it out. And when that's happening, it's a puzzle. We're lost. We have moments of awe, both in terms of horror and fascination and wonder. And we seek answers that we sometimes can't ever get. So I really think labyrinths are very existential in nature, and they do something. They don't just show us the meaning, the theme of all of this, but they let the reader experience those emotions that come with the search for meaning while you're reading the book, because you are also puzzling, you're also feeling disoriented and feeling the awe of the story. So you really get to experience the emotions through this labyrinth in the same way that you do in reality. Well, not exactly the same, obviously, but in a similar way. And so that's what I think the labyrinth can do for us, and what is so cool about it, and what these three stories have in common. And I would recommend all of them. I think they're really interesting. Some of them are controversial. I don't think Piranesi's very controversial. Most people who read this love it. I don't know that many people. I don't know if I actually know anybody personally who's read this and didn't like it, and I very rarely see any comments on it that don't say it was awesome. Some people aren't hooked right away with it, but most people find it to be a great story. So I would recommend this to anyone, especially if you want to explore a labyrinth and this kind of emotion that I've been talking about. This Is How You Lose a Time War. A lot of people hate this. I feel like it's you either love it or you hate it. I really enjoyed it. It is strange. It is poetic. The writing can be very flowery, but I thought it worked. It worked for the characters. It worked for what the story's trying to do. And it's just different. And it's very short, so if you want to give it a try, it's not like it's going to be a big burdensome read. But again, if you like labyrinths, then like this isn't a physical labyrinth in the way that we see in Piranesi and in House of Leaves, but I still think it's there, and I still think it's doing those same types of things that I have been talking about. And then finally for House of Leaves, more horror. This one's also very strange. Some people hate it. It's written weird. It's work to read it. But I actually read it a really long time ago. I haven't read it in over a decade maybe. But I loved it when I read it. I'd like to reread it. And I think it's worth trying just for the experience. And then if you don't like it, it's not clicking with you, you just don't have to read it. But it's probably the most unique book that I've ever read. So I really think it's worth a try. And if you like the labyrinth stuff, you'll have that in here too. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. Coming up soon will be a review on Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I'm currently reading this. I'm about this far in, so I got a bit more. But I'm thinking, I don't think next week's video, but probably the week after that, I'll be doing a review on this. So this is horror, if you didn't know that. So if you're interested in that, come back and check it out.